the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode 157 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where four friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. My name is Adam and I'm joined today back on Skype by John.
Hello.
By Brett.
Hello.
But unfortunately not by Sam. Sam is basically Mr. AEW on this podcast, right? He definitely watches it every single week and he does a lot of reading into it and he's always picking it up. And he hasn't made it to the AEW review. It's outrageous.
He'll be annoyed by this as well. So it's a chance for him to show off his knowledge. He loves doing that.
Yeah, he does. And the thing is, he was frantically trying to rearrange, like, can you record Wednesday? Thursday? Sam is at a dinner that he couldn't get out of. Any speculation, wild speculation, what dinner this could be?
Mackie D's.
That's it. It's Tuesday. It's McDonald's night.
It's cheat night. So he's got a date with a few Big Macs.
Yeah,
a few Big Macs
lined up. Yeah.
In my head, the Big Mac is such a tasty burger, but I haven't had one in God knows how long.
Yeah, it's classic. It's kind of a classic. Like, it's a bit disappointing. It's a bit limp. It's a bit pathetic, but it's a classic taste in my eyes. I haven't had one for a while now. I'd like one immediately, but I could get a Deliveroo. They actually have a Deliveroo where I live now, Deliveroo service, because now I'm just outside of Brighton. For ages, they didn't have anything like that, and now they do.
Wow.
Since COVID made everybody sort themselves out, and now I could, if I wanted, I could order a mint aero and a can of Coke, and it would be here in a few minutes.
Go on then.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually will.
Because a mint aero is quite a difficult chocolate bar to find at most local news agents.
Okay, the great thing about this is beforehand, Brett was like, just so you know, guys, I've got quite a lot to do afterwards. I'm going on holiday tomorrow, and be cool if we could make sure we're quite swift. Okay, I won't do that then. That's the only reason, because I could if I wanted to. The last podcast we did was a review of SummerSlam, and we got together at John's house, and we had a lovely time. And Brett, we really missed you because it was great.
Yeah, busy with work. Couldn't get it.
Did you, because I know we sort of warned you, don't sit through SummerSlam. Did you listen to the pod? You didn't, did you?
I didn't.
Oh, Brett.
Brett.
I'm in my own little world at the moment. I'm in Brett
Hopefully.
land. There's not a lot else going on.
So stay tuned to find out if Brett actually watched All Out. We will find out shortly. I can tell you, Brett, that SummerSlam was our lowest scoring pay-per-view since records began, which was September 2018. So we had a whole year of the pod where we didn't do scoring.
Yeah.
SummerSlam averaged at 3.5.
Oh my days. I'm definitely going to have to go listen to it because I'm sure it's entertaining pod. It's being such a terrible pay-per-view.
I think we did right to score it that low as well. I think we're justified.
That's amazing. That means you all scored it low, not like just a random
if I
Sam
low,
0.5.
You know it's super shit.
Yeah. It was my lowest ever score. And what's funny is to go from SummerSlam to All Out. We're going to find out obviously how we all feel about All Out, but I wonder if I'm feeling higher on All Out because it was the first thing I saw after SummerSlam.
Oh.
We'll
Maybe
find out.
I can be the equaliser on that.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to find out what you think, Brett, because obviously we did talk a bit of AEW and other stuff when we were all together. So yeah, hear what Brett thinks about All Out, and John and me after this short break.
He's looking for the heat seeker on the apron. Oh my! That's it. That has got to be it.
Jericho's head driven into the ring apron, the hardest part of this entire structure.
AEW All Out 2021 was held at the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. This all just sounds like made up.
Yeah,
random
Now
words.
Arena sounds awful, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
Really does.
Like, it's like your manager would scream at you, "Now Arena!"
If your name was Arena.
Or just like he's trying to get you somewhere. I don't know. It's like a management speak term to try and improve motivation. Who knows?
Yeah, I see. The attendance was 10,126 rabid wrestling fans. And the comms team was JR, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Don Callis for a little bit as well.
Was it only 10,000? I thought it was more than that. It felt more than that.
According to Wikipedia. So that's where we get our stats from. We'll see. I think we're just used to reading out, 40,000 for WWE shows and it not necessarily being the case. We knew always that this was going to be a big event, and have we sort of said that this is their WrestleMania?
Is this their WrestleMania?
Well, I think
this is where you need Sam.
It. We've definitely debated it.
Yeah, I mean,
Was this the first one they
Double
did?
or Nothing or this?
Well, they did All In.
And then All Out, and then Double or Nothing. Was that right?
Yeah, and then they chucked in Full Gear and Fight for the Fallen and all those other ones.
Yeah.
But basically, we knew this was going to be big because for weeks they've been adding matches to the card. We were supposed to have Andrade versus Pac on this, which I know all four of us would have loved. Gutted that that's not happening, but I believe it's happening on Dynamite or Rampage.
Rampage this Friday, I believe.
There's some good matches coming up this week.
Oh my! Well, we were going to get into one of them. I got very excited about Dynamite. I was like, guys, have you seen what's on Dynamite this week?
The card. It's actually not too lengthy when you look at it written down like this. But John, what was it?
So we had a pre-show or the buy-in show, which featured a match between five-man tag match, which was Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus versus the Hardy Family Office, which was Matt Hardy, Private Party, and Jack Evans and Angelico.
Nice.
I watched this earlier today. Very fun. Very fun match.
Okay.
Yeah, really good. I'd say it was a proper indie multi-man match. There's some bonkers spots. There's a whole segment where Jungle Boy was on Luchasaurus' soldiers against Jack Evans, who was on Angelico's shoulders, and they were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But I enjoyed it. It's worth watching.
Sounds good.
The main card kicked off with Miro versus Eddie Kingston for the TNT Championship. Then we had John Moxley versus Kojima. Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander for the Women's World Championship. Then the Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers for the Tag Team Championship inside a cell.
If anything, their backs are older than they are in terms of the condition.
Definitely.
Then we had the Women's Casino Battle Royale. I'm not going to list all the people in X, there's loads.
Four different suits.
And the Joker.
Of course. Oh, God. So jammy, that Joker. The fact that she drew that Joker card, so lucky.
Then we had MJF versus Chris Jericho with the stipulation that if Chris Jericho lost, he would retire. Then we had QT Marshall versus Paul White. And finally, we had Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage for the AEW Championship.
We did indeed. So, usually, the usual format would be to pick out some key matches and talk about those in depth and then do a bit of a best in the rest and worst in the rest. And we did set that all up in the running order. And then we thought there was a lot going on here and we don't want to miss any little details. So what we're going to do is go old school. There's only three of us to fill the podcast with words. So hopefully, it'll be shorter in that sense. Does that make sense? I don't know. But we're going to talk it chronologically, match by match. And we'll still pick a star performer at the end, and we'll still give it an overall rank and see where it finishes in the spreadsheet. Can it finish above SummerSlam? You'll have to wait and find out. Sam has sent in some thoughts, so we'll be doing a little segment. It's quite a lot of words. Maybe we'll need a bonus pod for that.
You're going to have to cut out all the racism on the fly as well.
Yeah. What, from Brett? Just the normal. Anyway. Let's talk about the first match that kicked things off. And I was very excited that this was the first match. The TNT Championship match between the champ, Miro, and Eddie Kingston. How great is it that Miro is called the Redeemer, or his finisher is the Redeemer, and Eddie Kingston came out with a t-shirt that said, "Redeem these nuts."
And he did redeem those nuts.
Yeah, he really did. And it's so great to see Eddie Kingston in this spot. We've seen him in the indies. when he got his shot on Dynamite, it was like, oh, this is nice. He's getting a little chance, and then he'll go away to the Indies again, and here he is.
Yeah, he's done really well since moving to AEW, actually, because he was someone I've watched a bit of, because obviously he did some stuff with Progress, did quite a lot of stuff with Progress, and great on the mic. I hadn't really seen too much of him wrestle, but super. And I love this match. I thought the way they've been booking Miro has been really good, because I couldn't stand it when he first came to AEW with the whole Kip Sapien stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of eased him in, because obviously he came from WWE with the sort of hangover from Rusev Day, that sort of slightly more comical character. So they sort of eased him back in with that comical character, then have built him up to be this absolute badass beast.
And he looks cut, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks fantastic.
He does. It's great seeing Miro, like the beast of a man that he is and has always been, being able to hit hard.
Yeah.
You know, like this was a hard hitting match, which is, you know, I really enjoyed it. I do love Miro. I'm not totally on the Kingston bandwagon. I do think he's great on the mic, but I haven't loved what, you know, not that I haven't enjoyed what I've seen, but I've not been like, oh, he's, you know, the next best thing or anything. But like how this match went on, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. Kingston is not great in ring, but because he's so lovable and likable outside of the ring, doing his promos, and he just looks legit. Like he just looks.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I mean, those eyes. Incredible. And I totally agree with the being able to hit hard, like seeing Miro with the chop marks, the purple. You don't see that in WWE.
No,
and that's what, let's face it, every indie wrestling fan absolutely loves people chopping each other to shit.
Yeah. And Miro's a beast. He always has been, but he's, you know, never got the chance to unleash that.
Yeah. In fact, I think chops featured in our top 5 things, like top 5 reasons why we love wrestling, just chops. And just to call it back, another thing we mentioned in there, John's love for neck braces. Forgot to mention at the start. Sam's in a neck brace.
He's finally jumped the shark.
He sent us a picture during the week because he tweaked his neck and he's wearing a neck brace. And John instantly took that to private chat.
Yeah.
So
sent me so many pictures. Yeah. It's weird. Actually, it's not weird. It's lovely.
I enjoyed the narrative in this match as well. They had there was a bit of booking in this towards the end with the old turnbuckle pad and then the low blow from Miro.
I liked it.
Kind of protected Eddie. I liked it too. Yeah,
it actually followed a theme. I think there was a few finishes in All Out which I really enjoyed, despite the fact they were quite smozzy. I enjoyed them. I think they worked really well in the context of the matches, and I think it worked really well in this one.
Yeah. I'd agree. Okay, so let's go on then to the next match, which was between Satoshi Kojima and Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley coming out in a GCW hoodie. He's the new GCW champ. I love that. I love that about AEW.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he beat Matt Cardona during the week and set up a program with Nick Cage.
Ooh,
Nick Gage.
Nick Gage.
Nick Cage.
Brett would be well on board of that, wouldn't you?
I would.
Can you tell me about Satoshi Kojima?
He's not someone I liked when I was watching New Japan necessarily. I know he's held a lot of belts over there, 1G1s and stuff.
Yeah, I think I've sort of missed his heyday. I came in on New Japan when he was tag teaming with Tenzan, so there's a lot of the Mongolian chops and a lot of lariats. He's a big lariat man.
Great peck game as well for a man of his age.
Like, and he does the chops, doesn't he? I think Kingston did it against Miro. First match.
Yeah.
The machine gun chops or whatever they call it. It's his speciality.
This was kind of like, okay, this match, because obviously I didn't know really about Kojima, so I wasn't that excited. You know, my knowledge of New Japan's fairly basic, and there was somebody who I love a lot more who was involved shortly after. But yeah, I just thought this was kind of okay. I didn't think Kojima looked particularly special. He's probably past his best. But
yeah, that's the thing I thought with this match. I was like a little bit let down with it because like there's all that talent at New Japan and they're sort of going with the old guard at the moment. Probably because they don't want their guys to lose. I think
it
some
has
of that
been all the old, and it's looks like it's going to continue being all the old as well.
Yeah, so like my initial excitement at this stuff happening is like, you know, the flame has dampened quite rapidly at the moment.
Surely the light at the end of that tunnel though is like, it feels like Tanahashi's just
Yeah, there's going to be a big moment when we do get something like that. But I mean, that was my favourite bit about this match. Was the end.
Yeah. I would say there was a cool bit where they were biting each other, which I quite liked on the heads. Quite like that. But the surprise at the end was definitely the best bit.
Yeah.
The surprise at the end was incredible because I wasn't expecting it, even though I have heard that Suzuki's doing a bit of a US tour at the moment, like doing indies and stuff. I wasn't expecting it. The only issue I had with it was the fact that it flashed up and it flashed up on the screen and it said Minoru Suzuki. And then the music went on for ages before he came out. And then he had the comms trying to fill. And people were saying, oh, if this is who I think it is, and it can't be. And it's like, yeah, we know who it is. Why isn't he coming out? But, you know, I'm being picky.
They botched it.
Yeah. Oh, they did not. Brett, watch SummerSlam before you say they botched the debut, okay? just watch that first to really understand what a botched debut means.
See a lot of hype about All Out on Twitter, and I didn't sort of see spoilers, but I saw people and on Facebook just saying like 10 out of 10 and all this stuff. But I think moments like this are what made people so high on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe we'll talk about this now. Like as a pay-per-view, as just the wrestling, I thought it was okay. But there were so many moments in this pay-per-view which were amazing that it kind of elevates it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was definitely one of the first ones. I mean, a crowd getting to sing Kaze ni Nare and, you know, Suzuki, like, he's just a beast. Seeing the Gotch Power Driver. Oh.
I love the Gotch Power Driver.
Yeah.
I love the fact every time he uses it in a proper match, he always loses.
Yeah. He does, because he has them in the choke and then he gives it up for the glory. Amazing.
That's the thing. This event was so full of incredible moments that just made me think how much I love wrestling again. And we'll sum it all up nicely towards the end once we've discussed all of them. But yeah, it's interesting going back through the matches. It's like, oh right, actually there weren't as many like incredible matches, but then I still anyway. We'll talk about all that.
That's going to be an amazing match, though.
Yeah, on Wednesday as well. This Wednesday,
and of course, was it the G1 when they had that incredible match? 2 years ago or something like that, where a lot of it was outside. I really enjoyed that. I'm guessing it was the G1. Where are you, Sam? For God's sake! Yeah, shouting at his iPod.
Long since lost from my memory.
Okay, the next match was the AEW Women's Championship match between Britt Baker, the dentist, and Chris Statlander, the alien. Classic matchup of alien versus dentist. What did we think, Brett?
I enjoyed it. I guess this follows the theme on many of the matches, like we just spoke about. I thought it was a decent match. I thought it was good. It was better than a lot of the women's matches they've had in past pay-per-views, because I mean, I know not all agree, but I thought they actually started quite high, although it wasn't at the pay-per-view, but with Riho and Nyla Rose, I thought that was great, and then it sort of took a massive dip, and I think because they haven't, you know, in contrast to WWE, they haven't had as good a roster, but we'll talk about some of that later. I think they're definitely on the up.
Yeah. Do you feel like Britt Baker is like now their first legit superstar or like proper sort of A-lister in the women's division? They haven't had that, but I feel like she's got there over the last couple of months. Starting off with that match, obviously, which was longer than a couple of months ago with Thunder Rosa, was it?
The lights out match. Oh my god, that match was so good.
And then her homecoming that she had a couple of weeks ago. She's seriously over now. Yeah,
and she's got a good character. You know, she's a good heel. She's got good character work going on outside the ring, and she's putting on good matches. So yeah, I'd agree with that statement.
I like her lackeys as well, Rebel and the other one,
Jamie Hayter. Yeah. I
Everybody's got somebody in AEW, haven't they? Because I guess the roster's getting so big now that it's like, right, well, we actually can't get you on the card, so you team up with this person and you can walk down the ramp with this person. But a lot of it works. Like Orange Cassidy being with Chris was great.
They should just
that, though,
go to the. They should just go, like, you know, go the New Japan route. have stables, chuck everyone in a stable, then it makes sense.
That would be cool,
there's
actually.
there's an allegiance there that's like stated from your arrival, and then it's also a big deal if you don't have an allegiance, and then it's also like there's a lot you can do with that, and they've got so many people now. It makes sense because there were people that just like, especially with the first buy-in match, like the pre-show bit, it was just like, let's chuck these good guys together, and and I don't like Private Party with Matt Hardy, so it just seems like squashing people together.
You do like Private Party though, don't you? I thought you
yes.
Just not with Matt.
I like that they can just pick and choose from the wrestling world what kind of things they want to do, because it's true, they can be like, should we just do some stables? Or when Sam messaged me last night to give me the score that he's going to give and things like that, and then he was like, isn't it great, like their roster's so stacked, imagine if they did like a G1. They could easily do like a G1 style tournament. And then he was like, if you had to pick 2 sets of 10 wrestlers, who would you do? And he did it, and he texted me, and I was just like, well, they're just all fucking great wrestlers. And then there's still loads that you haven't even mentioned. There's just all sorts. And I saw Tony Khan saying that he's not against the idea of introducing a trebles belt or championship.
Oh, okay.
Or trios. I'm not that into that, but
the tournament thing, then you can also have guests for the whole tournament, like someone from Japan or someone from Impact, like there to battle it out throughout the tournament.
Oh, it's so cool the way that they have guests as well. That's a thing they've done lots of, and you get people guesting who then get over and then get a contract or whatever it may be. But back to this match, what did you actually think of the match, John?
Yeah, I kind of echo Brett. I thought it was decent. I like Chris Statlander. I don't like her gimmick. And she does feel like a bit of a placeholder challenger, right? Like, I feel like Britt Baker is so far ahead of the rest of the women's division, except for maybe Thunder Rosa, that everyone else doesn't really feel like a legitimate challenge.
I think she's got a lot of legitimate challenges coming, but I think Statlander, I think she's probably like Jungle Boy, where I think she's really good. She's just on the up as opposed to being title ready.
I actually read somewhere where someone was describing the AEW women's division almost like developmental, because WWE have brought up pretty much all female wrestlers a few years ago, including like UK ones. So AEW have brought in all these sort of more inexperienced wrestlers and have sort of been training them up and building them up, and you can see that with, I mean, when Britt Baker joined, she was pretty green at that point, and they've obviously built her up quite a lot.
It's hard to do, but I thought this match was really good, particularly the end. I loved when Britt Baker did the Pittsburgh Sunrise.
Yes, I was
so cool, especially with what was coming up later. But to get the 2 count from that, and then do the stomp and get the 2 count, and then did the lockjaw for the end. She just looked like a badass.
Yeah, she did.
That was the only way she could put away Chris as well. And
she's so strong as well, Chris Statlander.
Really cool end.
Oh
my god, because they had the
superplex.
Yeah. She nearly lost it and then retained. How do you do that?
I thought she'd just put her down and go again. No one would bat an eyelid, but like she just like didn't even have a proper hold, but she kept it. Beast mode. Or alien mode, I guess.
Yeah, that's better. There's a really cool, I was on shopaew.com last night. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get some merch. And I didn't, but there is a really cool, because I'm not that into the best friends, but there's best friends with Chris and Orange Cassidy t-shirt, which is a really cool little illustration, a bit like the ET image where they're all on a bike and Chris is like sat in the front basket. I think we're going to have to get some merch, guys.
I wonder that's where they've got a UK shop, have they?
I don't know. The prices look reasonable, but we'll all club in together and pay that postage. All right. Next match, which definitely was going to be our first key match, is the AEW Tag Team Championship match, a steel cage match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. Big entrances we got for this.
The Lucha Brothers entrance was so good.
They look so cool.
They did, like the Aztec headdresses and stuff, and the rappers. Oh God, it was big fight feel.
Certainly was. And then you had the Young Bucks guys, I love the Young Bucks now. I think all it took
they're so
was for
good as
them
heels,
to
aren't they? They're
turn
just
into
so
these
good.
arsehole, horrible, cocky, arrogant heels.
They look so awesome as well, though. All the little touches of just like that arrogance and like the bleaching the handlebar in the beard.
The bleach handlebar. Oh god, that made me so angry just looking at that facial hair.
Oh, I thought he
little
looked amazing with it.
Septum piercing and the earrings, like the dangly earrings that they're wearing, and like the little two-piece like pajama type wear, whatever it is. The hats, I think it's kind of everything that I needed them to be, because I found them kind of a bit annoying. And now it's like, yes, now they've really lent into it and they're supposed to be annoying and they're doing such a good job. And when I was going into this match, I was thinking, I remember when we reviewed the first Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers match on an AEW pay-per-view, and I was like, it's just spot after spot after spot. It just feels too choreographed. I didn't feel that way with this one. I felt emotion, and I felt like it mattered, and they all fucking put their bodies on the line, and I absolutely loved this match.
I got tingles at the end when the Lucha Brothers won it. It felt proper, like emotional kick to it.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
So brutal. I think the first one they had was a bit of a spot fest, whereas this one was all just about brutality and violence.
There was a lot of spots in this one as well. Let's
oh
not
my
pretend.
god, you want that?
But I love their spot fest matches, and I love this one. You know, like they do all the stereo stuff. They do like the alternate where, like, you know, the opponent's doing the same move to
the package
teammate.
power drivers on the aprons. Yeah.
Oh, that was nice.
That was cool.
Avalanche Canadian Destroyer.
Sounds a bit weird.
Oh
outrageous.
His neck on that one in the slow-mo, I was just like, that is gonna hurt. That is gonna be so bad, because like I just thought the way he landed, because he was pretty much on like vertical as well, like his head wasn't bent, so it was just like, brutal. He's gonna be feeling that for days.
So painful.
Yeah.
The crowd was super into this match. Like, they were popping so hard for all the near falls and the breaking the pins, and it just felt like a real emotional roller coaster. I did get very scared when Rey Fenix went up to the top of the cage, and I was like, what the fuck are they going to do here? Is this going to be like a code red from the top or something bonkers, or like a Meltzer driver?
When he ran along as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that
Danger.
looked sketchy.
But really cool when they got the Air Jordan in there with all the thumbtacks in it.
And when Matt gave it a little lick, dangerous.
I liked them like ripping their masks as well, because they looked battered, and I don't know when it happened to Penta, but like he already had blood gushing over his face, so like obviously not ideal for him to hurt himself like that, but it just looked amazing. It added to the brutality of like that ripped mask and blood going over there. And then when he ran in front of his brother to protect him from
his little
thumbtack boot, was just like,
he looked
emotional.
I had to rewind that bit. There was a bit where it was focusing on him, and I was like, oh shit, and then I had to rewind to double check it wasn't his makeup, but the bright red blood streaming down his white face with the makeup, and as you said, with the ripped mask, that is such an iconic look. I got a little screenshot of that. It was like, I'm going to keep that. I'll need that.
I loved it at the end where obviously they won and they got to his family and just covered his kids in his own blood.
I know.
So much blood over those kids.
It was
crying
amazing.
kids.
I was a little bit annoyed at like the refs and stuff. Like, I know you're trying to keep to time and stuff, but like this is what makes extra moments, you know, seeing them reach that like pedestal and him celebrate with his family. Like, don't rush him off, let him have it, just like you know, just for a few minutes.
It obviously meant so much to them, like to win.
That was an amazing moment. Seeing him with the family, because obviously he knows he's battered and he can probably see his kids crying, so to call them over and be like, I'm fine. I mean, I'd love to see the state of his face. Actually, I wonder how he is, because he seemed to have blood coming from a few different spots, and it was like the blood was in his eye as well. Like the white of his eye was red. Might just be blood getting in there, but
could be the contact lenses as well, maybe.
It just that adds to it, doesn't it? We've said that a number of times. We're not desperate for blood.
No.
And blood, sometimes, when it's Cody having blood in every single match, you're like, yeah, but sometimes it can elevate a match. This was a fucking great match, but the blood adds to it.
It's like a Hitman classic, really. Knows when you need it. Although, like, this was just by chance, I believe. I think the thumbtacks were meant to produce a bit, but it was too late. It was already
yeah. Well, that made Nick, that got a bit of blood on Nick, didn't it, from the thumbtacks when he got hit, which also looked good. Nick Jackson is just phenomenal. I think I've said this before. I could just watch Nick versus Ray for 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Ray's so good. What I love about the Lucha Brothers is how they both look quite similar, sort of similar body shapes and heights, but they wrestle so differently. Like, Ray is the flippy, crazy one, and Phoenix is like the enforcer, like the brute force one. And they work so well together. Oh, I fucking love the Lucha Brothers.
We even missed that sequence where they were just hitting super kicks on each other. One was falling down, the other was getting up, super kick, but and it was just like so slick and like just quick and fast paced. Perfectly hit super kicks. Just loved it. Loved this match completely.
Easily match of the night, probably match of the year.
Oh. Yeah, without a doubt, it's going to be up there in the conversation. If we do an end of year review, it's going to feature heavily. I've seen a lot of people say it's one of the best tag team matches they've seen of all time, and you can't really argue with that. I don't think people are getting carried away, because you look at the talent involved, you look at the stakes, you look at the fact that it was in a cage and it kind of worked really well. It wasn't just sod it, let's stick it in a cage. It was to keep the elite away. It made sense and it worked.
I'm not necessarily they're different types of matches, so I'm not comparing or contrasting them, but it was like we had this period where New Day were always facing off against the Usos, and it was always gold.
Yep.
Like Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks, it is always gold. I can just keep watching it again.
Yeah, those parallels feel very, very on point.
I'd love to see a Nick Jackson singles push career. I just and that's what a tournament would be great for as well, getting to see them having singles matches.
Well, fingers crossed for a horrendous Matt Jackson injury. Is what you're saying.
Oh no, sorry Matt.
I wonder what Meltzer's going to score this one. That's going to be a 7, isn't it? A 7-star.
Yeah, this is easily going to be 5, isn't it? Easily.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna have to do it higher because of his own silly scale that he's messed up. All right, let's move on to. I was sort of quite pleased. So I was like, what's going to follow this? What can follow this?
Booked well, this actually. Yeah.
It was kind of good to have something that's a bit different. However, I think I've got quite big problems with the Women's Casino Battle Royale match. I can see why they're not. They can't just do a Rumble. They can't. They want to do something a bit different. They've had the gambling theme, but to have this random different suits, which mean absolutely jack shit. It's like, it's the diamonds next. Well, I don't care. I don't know who's in the diamonds. And then suddenly it's 5 wrestlers, and it's bang, 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 bang. So none of them get a proper entrance. You don't get the moment where they come into the ring. They do a couple of moves, and then then it dies down and something else happens. It felt like there was no time for any storylines or there was no narrative in this until the debut of Ruby Soho, which was fucking great. But I don't think I'm a fan of the Casino Battle Royale.
I to be honest,
match.
I wasn't a fan of the whole casino theme, with Double or Nothing, and the fact that they keep going on with it with the Battle Royale is don't love it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the format either.
What I did like about this though was I actually saw a bunch of wrestlers that in the women's division that look, like they are legitimately stepping up the talent pool.
Yeah,
because I thought Cargill looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's tiny, I love Layla Hirsch. Came in, did the German suplexes. She's tiny, but I saw a match of hers on Dynamite and I thought, wow, she looks great, but she's so small. But she looked great.
Abaddon looks terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And I thought Jamie Hayter looked really good in this as well.
Yeah,
she looked really smooth, really aggressive in it. It made an impact for her. So there were moments and bits that I took away from this that I thought were really promising.
Yeah, I thought this was fun, and especially after the match previously, you just wanted something that you could even like just zone in and out of a little bit, because the last one was quite emotionally intense.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed this. It was fun. Wasn't brilliant, but
Yeah,
did the
it
job.
just feels like there are loads of wrestlers that we don't really know much about because they're not really getting showcased. But I think you're right, Brett. I think there are a few there to be potentially excited about. But as I said, in a good Rumble, you get a couple of little narratives, a couple of little things where you're like, okay, maybe there's a program that can spin off from this afterwards. Or it's like a little bit of a, oh yeah, those two fought in the past and that's why they're having a fight in the ring now. And maybe there were some bits that I missed, but I didn't really get that vibe. But then everybody knew the Joker was going to be Ruby Soho, coming out to Ruby Soho by Rancid.
Yeah.
I love this about AEW.
Yeah, me too.
Just paying up the money to use some awesome music. I mean, like that was also the best thing about the bloody pre-show. Like Orange Cassidy coming out to the Pixies gives me goosebumps every time.
That must cost a lot as well. I can't imagine the Pixies are cheap to get the rights to music.
No.
Rancid probably, they'll be like, yeah, just give us whatever you got. Like,
do it.
Makes such a difference though. Like
it does. Yeah.
How amazing it is to when you watch wrestling on the indie scene and they come out to some classic tunes and bang and odd ones as well, and it's just it really elevates entrances and your excitement.
What AEW debut could be like? What music could hit and you'd be like, fuck yes, from your indie time? Like, I'm trying to think of the entrance music that hit hardest.
Well, for me,
yeah,
I can go straight off.
Do it.
It would be Grado and Like a Prayer.
Imagine if Grado
and Like
is
a
all
Prayer,
elite.
I would like that. That was the most amazing entrance I'd ever witnessed.
Really?
Yeah,
I think
it was so much fun.
Run the Jewels for Aussie Open, fucking cool.
That is good.
And then maybe like Party Hard for Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews if they came out as a tag team. I mean, it'd be quite underwhelming in many ways, but they and obviously Riddle having Warren G,
Session off.
Yeah.
Some big old iconic tracks there from the indie scene. Oh,
Session off would be brilliant in AEW as well.
Yeah.
Actually, she would. Yeah. Be amazing if that happened. Anyway, Ruby Soho, how do we feel? Because I think we all felt as if she had much more to give in WWE. She looks great, and I think she's going to slot in perfectly.
Yeah, definitely what the women's division needs. Super talented wrestler. Can't wait to see what happens, actually.
Just needs a little time just to settle in. I think the emotions and the excitement and energy from that were like a little off-putting maybe for her.
She seemed so happy, didn't she?
Yeah, like
so happy, hugging the
totally
ref
hype.
afterwards.
So hopefully a good few matches settle in and she'll be great.
Must be so refreshing for these people who've had to put up with that shit.
Apparently, she was saying post-match, like after the event, that it's the first time the crowd's ever cheered her name or chanted her name.
Oh, amazing! And especially because she hasn't wrestled in front of crowds for so long.
Yeah.
Mad. Okay, let's go on now to the next match, which was the result of the longest program or the longest feud in Chris Jericho's career. He was saying today on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Cause how long has it been going on?
It's basically been a year.
It feels longer than that.
It's basically been a year. Well, I think as in individually, because I think obviously they had some stuff between the two teams.
Yeah.
I'm just going off what Jericho said on his Instagram. MJF versus Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho loses, he can't wrestle again in AEW. Any feelings that MJF was going to win this, Brett?
No. Well, I mean, he could have, but I never thought Chris Jericho would retire. So I just thought, I thought there'd be a sketchy end or something, so I didn't necessarily think, Jericho's going to win it necessarily, but I don't love MJF. He's great on the mic.
Oh, he's growing on me actually quite a bit.
I'm not a fan of his yet, and so this whole feud going on for so long is just made me sad.
Yeah. I feel slightly underwhelmed by the feud in the sense it just feels like it's just been around too long, and I feel like we've got a bit of overexposure to Chris Jericho. Like, he wrestled those 5 Labours. He was basically headlining like 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and at his age, I feel like he should be there for like a build to a big match with a stipulation, so his limitations aren't exposed. And it's great to see Chris Jericho. But seeing him every week, it's a bit like, oh. And also hearing Judas every week, unbelievably, I'm now kind of sick of Judas, especially the way they did it this time with the guitar. It sounded awful.
It sounded awful. It did sound awful.
It was, the guitarist struggling without like a drummer to keep his time in it.
It was only the Fozzy guitarist, so it's not.
And the crowd couldn't sing along.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, this isn't right.
It didn't do it. Yeah, like Chris Jericho can. The thing for me is Chris Jericho can rock up, can play Judas. That'd be amazing. And then he just walks to the commentator booth and, he's just talking about one of his stables matches or something. Like, I'm all for that because he's great on the mic, and we get to see him wrestle every so often, against like top talent. And I get the idea that he's doing this to put over MJF, but it's just not working for me.
I disagree with both of you guys. I love the 5 Labours. Admittedly, I wasn't that jazzed about this match because it does feel like we've had it a few times before, but I thought MJF was so good in this match. Like, I think it's the best match I've seen him wrestle. Like, some of the stuff he was pulling out really took me by surprise, and I really like the screwy finish.
Okay. Well, I mean, I say okay. I did love the ending, and I was surprised because when you had the 3 count and Jericho put his leg up.
Yep.
But then it was the end of the match. I was like, well, that's fucking shit. Okay, so on Dynamite, he's going to show a replay, and then it's going to be like, I'm not retiring. And it's like, that's shit. But then for it to suddenly move into a restart and to have those roll-ups, and then to the armbar, and then the roll-up, and then the Walls of Jericho was great. It was really exciting. The crowd were really hot for it, and I did love it.
Do you think they've set themselves up for a bit of a fall because clearly AEW has VAR, so there should be no screwy finishes again?
I think
because there should always be a referee watching the video, running down and saying no, continue.
Well, I think that referee was there because of Wardlow and Hager came out, right?
Right.
I think that might be it. And he said, I was sat right there. I saw it. So it wasn't he was watching a video. Okay. I see what you're saying.
No VAR yet, Brett. I know you want
no VAR yet. Keep VAR out of wrestling.
I agree. I think MJF is getting better, and his promo on Dynamite during the week was fucking fire, like incredible.
Is he better than Eddie Kingston on the mic? He probably is, isn't he? Is he the best? God. Is he the best promo?
Oh, maybe,
wrestling?
But Eddie Kingston sounds like Vince Vaughn.
Is that a good thing?
Which is always a win for me.
Eddie Kingston is far cooler as well. Like, MJF isn't very cool. Like, he doesn't. I don't know. It's just something about Eddie Kingston. It's legit, right? Whereas,
MJF is easy to hate, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Forever heel. Never going to be a face, that guy. Never.
I wonder what he'll be doing next. Because
you'd
assume this is very much over now. It'd be interesting to see if he goes away for a bit. Same with Jericho now. I'd imagine there's some Fozzy touring to be done. He needs to stay away for a bit. Or just commentate, like you say. But maybe just have a little break. Let the new stars bed in, because we shouldn't underestimate the job he's done signing as the massive star right at the start and sort of not carrying the company, but very much helping it to get where it's got so that it can attract 3 huge names that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, and when Jericho sort of signs and there was no AEW for a while, he was like just doing odd matches in New Japan, which were like quite a space between each other, it wasn't like weekly, which was great. So like we don't want you to retire, Chris, just like take it easy.
I agree. All right, that was MJF versus Chris Jericho. How are we getting on? We're doing okay. We've got 3 more matches in theory to talk about. One of them will not take long at all, but the next one is a big one because it was the first wrestling match in 7 years that CM Punk has had. I love the stat that Darby Allin's first match happened 13 months after Punk's last match.
Wow.
I was so excited for this. So excited to see, A, if Punk could still do it, B, if he was in shape, you know, we're body guys, John. We like to see if people are putting the effort in and if they're still looking decent. And I thought he looked great. And obviously, yeah, see what the outcome might be, because I was like, is he going to put Darby over, or is he just going to need to win his first match?
Yeah,
back?
I was thinking beforehand, if Darby wins this, that'd be such a big thing. Like, I would love to do that. CM Punk come back and loses his
It
first
could have been
match.
a
Would be cool.
really interesting storyline. Like, just like what they did with Kenny, you know, with him losing early when you just thought he was going to be the immediate champ.
Yeah.
It provided a really long storyline, which is paying off big time. So, yeah, that could have been interesting.
Yeah. Before we get into
Chicago,
the match,
though, so...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's very true. You know, I don't watch Dynamite for the full 3 hours or however many hours every week, but I have been keeping an eye on everything to do with Punk. And I've really enjoyed, because they didn't really feature here, the fact that Danny Garcia and 2.0 have had such a heavy role. It's another thing I love about AEW. They pluck someone like Danny Garcia from out in the Indies or whatever. They get 2.0 from... Were they Ever Rise from NXT? Or was that another name? But they were like some NXT rejects. They've been fucking great. And the fact that they got to attack CM Punk and do everything that they've done in the run-up to this is just seriously cool.
Well, one of them got the first GTS back, right?
Yeah. That's very true. I'm going to double check what tag team they were. But Everrise, it was Everrise. Sorry, I'd like to confirm that. I am in fact very much correct. So, Brett, did you have goosebumps? CM Punk back in the ring?
I did.
Not that fast.
No, I'm not John when it comes to CM Punk, but I am
not John when it comes to anything.
Yeah, that's true. But I am a fan. I was really excited for this. I'm going to be thinking it was solid. It wasn't like a mega rusty match back. To be honest, the bits that I thought was exciting about this was basically Darby Allin putting his spine on the line.
Oh my god! Yeah. Nobody bumps like Darby Allin.
Well, there was I think that comes from his not caring. So there's obviously stuff he does carefully, and I guess there's an idea that he's a bit of a stunt guy, but running through the turnbuckles, so hitting your back on the corner of that
looks so nasty.
And when he fell out backwards,
from the
out
GTS,
of the ring after the GTS, those moments did elevate this match. But
it's mad,
man,
isn't it?
he's wanting to overtake the Young Bucks quickly with an aged back.
Yeah, he's like a little child in the fact that, you know how kids, when they fall, they sort of ragdoll, and because they don't tense up, then it means that they don't necessarily injure themselves, or they don't put their wrists out, or they're not. It's like he doesn't have that fear. He just lets his body fall where it's going to fall and just go with the momentum, and that kind of works out for him. Yeah. But I was kind of worried towards the start of this match. I was thinking, is this the wrong opponent for CM Punk's first match back? Because the sort of velocity at which Darby moves around the ring and just the pace is kind of making CM Punk look a little bit slow. Like, is how fast Darby is making CM Punk look slower than he may be.
I would say it did seem like he was wrestling slower than certainly he would have done 7 years ago. I don't know whether that's because of a bit of ring rust or whether he changed his style a bit. I think he looked great, and I don't think he wrestled as if he was rusty in any way. Like, everything looked smooth.
Got better.
Yeah, definitely.
Throughout the match, grew into it.
It started off quite slow, and I was very nervous going into this match because I was terrified it was going to be awful. And it did start off quite slow, but yeah, it's like Brett was saying, like, Darby Allin was just throwing himself around like a lunatic, and it just made it. And to be fair, CM Punk did a really good job as well. Like that bit where Darby went for the coffin drop, and CM Punk just sat up.
Perfect timing.
My God, that bit looks so dangerous. I think that's probably the most dangerous move of this entire pay-per-view, actually, because
if that had gone wrong, snapped his head back. It was definitely slow at the start when Punk did the abdominal stretch and then did it again. It was like,
but I loved the way that looked though, because it was an abdominal stretch with he was yanking his neck as well. I
just thought, are they going to rely on holds?
Yeah, but I just thought like it looked sort of like new and looked nasty.
Yeah. Do you want a little fact?
Bendy Darby Allin. That's probably why.
Bendy Darby. Little fact about this match. I read this online somewhere, so it's not my knowledge. But
it's
apparently
probably not true.
It is true because I verified it earlier. Because apparently Darby Punk based their match on a match between Bret Hart and 1-2-3 Kid, and which is on YouTube if you want to watch it, from an old Raw in '94. And they do a lot of the same sort of moves and stuff, and especially the start where they start off with the collar and elbow, right, and then Darby does an arm drag and throws Punk, and Punk just sort of sits up and smiles. Bret does exactly the same thing. 1-2-3 Kid throws him, and the bit where they're running the ropes and jumping over each other. So they sort of borrowed quite a few of the moves and sort of sequences from that old Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match.
I guess
that's so up Bret's street.
Yeah, totally. There are parallels to the two wrestlers as well.
Yeah, and obviously
So,
1-2-3
really
Kid did a
nicely.
coffin drop, and Bret Hart sat up. And
Can you imagine, like, watching Darby and CM Punk discussing that, and watching that match back and picking what they're going to do? It must be so exciting for both of them. CM Punk to be back in it, doing it with these young, enthusiastic wrestlers, and then for Darby to have had this. How nervous do you think he was coming down that ramp on his skateboard? They've done something to those bearings. That was going very slowly, that skateboard, I thought. But the nerves to think, I'm about to wrestle CM Punk.
Because he must have been a Punk fan back in the day, right? To get into wrestling when he did, if his first wrestling match was months after Punk, then he must have been into CM Punk.
Yeah, almost definitely. But I think, I was worried. I was excited, then I was worried, but I think he came through, and it's really exciting. And he was so pumped.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my first win. Let's see what happens. And I'm really excited again. Dynamite on Wednesday. Holy shit. Like, what's going to happen now with Punk?
Yeah, who's going to be his next opponent? Like, I don't think he's going to be wrestling lots, but it'd be interesting to see who his next one is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm back, motherfuckers. He shouted at the end as well, which was really great. Okay, next match. We'll fly through this one because it was obviously the toilet break, and it's so funny, isn't it? What a come down, but it totally makes sense. Like, such a huge moment. Hometown boy, CM Punk. Everybody needs to come down. But oh my God, we don't need to see any more Paul White, Big Show in a ring ever again. The most immobile wrestler I've seen since Great Khali. He looked awful.
Just the way he walks looks weird, doesn't it? It doesn't look right.
Oh, that spear. Oh my days.
It was nasty.
Oh, it's like he just fell over into him.
Yeah, I think that's probably what he did.
The only thing I liked is the no more BS. Quite clever. No more Big Show.
Oh, okay.
No more
Didn't pick up on that.
And the fact that his entrance music starts with, well, and then says something else.
I'm not the Big Show.
Yeah,
He really...
I never really thought that his signing with AEW was going to have anything to do with in-ring competition.
I kind of thought it would do it.
Maybe they just threw this in because they didn't have Pac and Andrade, although I can't imagine that match was going to be this quick. So who knows?
Maybe it was part of the contract. Yeah, I'll sign for you, and yeah, I will just be commentator, but give me one more match.
Yeah.
One more win in front of a crowd, because I haven't had that. And there we go. So I was like, yeah, I'll forgive AEW for this. It kind of makes sense. And it was 3 minutes.
Yeah,
by far
it
the
was
shortest
quick.
match.
It felt so much longer though, didn't it? Good lord, it felt like an Iron Man match at points.
Oh, he had the one other thing, whereas he went to clothesline QT and basically like his arm just hit him square in the face. Like, because he's so much taller, so there was no adjustment. There was just like bang in his face and he was down.
Oh dear.
Oh, that must have been painful.
I never really liked QT Marshall, but since he's come this like irritating heel character and he's sort of going QT Marshall, I've really grown to him.
Yeah, not fussed about either of them. Let's move on to the finale, the main event, the AEW World Championship match between Christian Cage and Kenny Omega. Now, it's kind of a discussion of two halves, the match and then what happened after. I thought Cage got quite a mixed reaction, like hardly any cheers, even a few boos when he came out.
Boos? I didn't hear the boos.
A few groans.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that affected the match as a whole in that there was some 50-50 chance. A lot of people loving Kenny, obviously, and it didn't feel important. It didn't feel like, right, we desperately want the babyface to win. It felt like we're kind of biding our time to see what happens after, and we like Kenny, so let's just see how this goes.
Yeah. I feel a bit weird about this match because, like, everything I saw was good. Like, they did all the right things. I thought Christian Cage actually looked really, really good. I'm not a fan of Christian Cage at all, but I think the way he wrestled this match was great. But I just don't really connect with him, and so I just don't see him as like a legitimate contender, and I didn't really care.
See, you missed the TNA years. The TNA champion, the Instant Classic.
Brett, because are you saying I should go back into the archives and watch his run in TNA?
You need to. He was a great champion for TNA.
If you watch SummerSlam,
and that's what I love about his arrival and the way it's played out so far in AEW is that his TNA pedigree has been addressed. You know, it's been acknowledged, like rather than like his mid card when he wasn't a tag partner to Edge, WWE is. Like, you know, it seems like they're actually sort of thinking of him as, you know, that champion that was a long-running TNA champion, and I love like the Instant Classic Christian Cage, and I really enjoyed this match. I thought Christian like looked great as well.
What's funny is that I think this is definitely an example of how the crowd can affect things, because if this had been in front of no crowd, I probably would have been more invested in thinking this is great, particularly because some of the stuff they were doing with the broken table and then and the Cage going through that table and then the leg coming up and going into his ribs. But because the crowd was kind of but because the crowd was kind of flat, I'm really bad for being like, well, why aren't they into it? What's going on? Why aren't they? What's happening here? And then just being distracted by the crowd.
Yeah, I can see that because crowds do affect, like,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I don't think they make a match bad, but sometimes they can. But mostly, like, they can turn a match from being like really good and then to great. And I thought this was a really, really good match. It wasn't obviously the tag match, but
no, I was also quite worried though about Daniel Bryan chant starting, but they didn't, and I thought that was great because I thought that would be quite disrespectful to Cage and to the main event. But I was kind of expecting there to be some yes chants or something, which didn't happen until later.
Yeah, can we talk about afterwards now?
But yeah, I kind of thought the match was okay. Should we go to the bit after?
Because it kind of leads into it. Because I think maybe the part of the reason why the crowd went into it is 'cause I think everyone was waiting for Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, and then when his music didn't hit, and Adam motherfucking Cole turned up. I feel like this was my biggest pop of the night, actually, because I wasn't expecting it. Obviously, I heard loads of rumours that he was going to AEW, but I definitely did not think it was going to be here. I thought it was going to be like further down the line. And just to see him come out...
It's a masterstroke.
And do the Adam Cole baby in front of the crowd. Oh, man, chills.
And did you expect him to then do what he did? You know, super kick Jungle Boy and join
not
the Elite?
If I thought about it, I should have done, because they're all best mates. They've been best mates for donkey's years. It makes sense.
And he was Bullet Club as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. I guess because of the way that Omega was like, nobody can beat me, and, you know, they're either retired or they're dead, or, you know, they're not here, and then that music hits. And when it goes dark, were you like thinking, right, when are we going to hear Flight of the Valkyries? Like, here we go, here comes Brian. And then suddenly, and he looks great, and the music fits, and he's obviously still called Adam Cole, obviously, and with the Bebe thing, it's so cool. It's so cool. And then so what happened?
He kicks Jungle Boy in the face.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a set two.
Does a bit of a promo. Story time with Adam Cole.
And then Mr. Bryanson turns up.
Mr. Bryanson.
Danny Bryanson.
The crowd were in this though, because they did start chanting yes before
you
his
would
music
though.
hit.
Like, if I was in that crowd after drinking all night, I'd be with my shirt off shouting yes.
Well, I mean, this hasn't been as telegraphed as CM Punk, where basically everybody knew exactly what's happening. But it was close. Like, there has been a lot of talk about this being the moment, and CM Punk teasing, you know, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, when people were doing the yes chants on Dynamite or whatever it was. we knew this was happening. So I did spend the whole pay-per-view expecting him to come. So then to get that little swerve at the end was just beautiful.
When Adam Cole turned up, did you think Brian was still coming in?
I'll be honest, I saw one spoiler when I accidentally clicked on Twitter, even though I'd moved it to a different page on my phone so I wouldn't do it. I'd scrolled to it, clicked, and I saw Bryan Danielson joins AEW.
Oh.
So but when I saw that, I was like, well, that's cool, because I knew that was going to happen anyway. But it meant that the Adam Cole thing, I was like, oh, but hold on, surely Bryan's still coming then, which was a real shame. But how did you feel, Brett? Did it
no, well, I didn't have it spoilt for me, but with all the rumours stuff that I'd read, and obviously knowing Adam Cole's contract was up, and him with Britt Baker, I sort of just expected him to join as well. So neither of them were massive surprises, but it was still a great moment.
Perfectly done, right?
Yeah, and just seeing Bryan Danielson's face, and then when it kicks off and him hitting the yes kicks in the corner, or it just looked with such ferocity. It just looked amazing. I was just like, yes, this is going to be so good.
He said some slightly worrying things afterwards in the media scrum, because I was reading some stuff about it, and both him and Adam Cole were quite complimentary about their time in WWE and stuff, which was cool. But Brian was saying that one of the main reasons he came to AEW is that WWE, they're sort of quite restrictive on how dangerous he can be, and sort of he wants to be a bit more out there and a bit more crazy. So he's come to AEW, and I'm like, Brian,
don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, well, your history of concussion, mate, and yeah, come on.
This is a quote from him in that media thing afterwards. He said, Punk can come in and say things like, oh, I want to help the young guys and all that kind of stuff. Nah, man, I'm going to kick their fucking heads in. Just hearing, and I watched a bit of a video of him, and he was like, I fucking love wrestling. Just hearing him swear, we're so used to sanitized WWE and the kind of wrestlers that they want to have on there, and the products, it is a different product. And it's very much moving increasingly more towards a kind of product that is not for us when this is the alternative. But to hear Daniel Bryan swear, it's just it's like hearing your dad swear when you're little.
Just how much their hands are tied on booking, and the way the matches are set up and everything, and these we've seen these absolutely amazing wrestlers on the indies and whatnot, and then they're at WWE, and then they become meh. We know you're better than this. What's going on? And then them out, and then you just see, and it's amazing.
It's unbelievable. I
can't letting them do their thing, I think, and they probably are allowed to put general booking ideas and stuff in, because wrestlers are very creative people, and you see it from the indies. There's so much fun and great stuff that comes of it, and just give them a bit of free reign.
The future is so incredibly bright and exciting.
I'm so excited. It's like they looked into my brain, what wrestlers can we get on this roster to make John Mewett watch this? CM Punk, Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. Minoru Suzuki's come in for a week. Why don't you join us?
Sam sent me a message yesterday again, and this isn't his thoughts. Don't worry, I'll read that out after the break. But he just said, if you had told me 5 years ago, hey, here's a wrestling promotion with Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Neville, Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, and Andrade, with no input from WWE, I wouldn't have believed it. And then a few minutes later, he went, oh, fuck, I forgot about CM Punk.
It's just...
Yeah.
It's a dream.
Oh, my God. It's a dream. So exciting. And, who knows where this is going to go, but this does feel potentially big.
Seismic.
It really does. Really big.
Paul White going to take the belt off Kenny Omega?
Well, he's on a winning streak.
He sure is. Anyway, I think what we're all saying is we're incredibly excited. And let's hear what Sam thought after this quick break.
Oh, face first into the apron of the ring. There's very little padding there. A dangerous area. It's not wrestler friendly, I can tell you.
Okay, so I've realised we haven't done our scores and things like that and MVP, but we're mixing up the format. But let's hear from Sam. I should have got him to record this. I did say if he wanted to. He said, All Out felt like an Oh, he has to use some words that I'm going to struggle to pronounce. For fuck's sake. All Out felt like an oh my God, Sam, an inevitability of excellence, not just because of how good AEW has been over the last year, but how poor WWE has been as a company. And I don't mean that in regards to the actual wrestling ability of their performers. I think WWE have some incredible talents who are bearing the brunt of poor decisions with management, corporate policies, writing, camera work, and simply atrocious commentary. All things AEW is flourishing with. I enjoyed every match on the card, and of course, the standout was the Bucks versus Lucha Brothers. Every match felt like its storyline meant something to the competitors, and AEW have built a roster so stacked it's incredibly difficult to predict the directions of what happens next, but I am engaged and excited to see whatever happens. All Out gave me all the joy of 90s style Attitude Era wrestling whilst not straying into areas that are now outdated. It reminded me of why I love wrestling, and I think this pay-per-view will be remembered as one of the all-time greats. As someone who's had to watch so much WWE mediocrity, this felt like a reward for persevering and the future of wrestling. I am now going to announce my retirement from podcasting.
Why can't he be that eloquent on the bloody pod? That was amazing.
I know. It's all very easy when you just write stuff down. He said, abridged review, yes, 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 Adam Cole, baby.
I think the Attitude Era is really interesting, and I wonder if that's a deliberate thing, because with CM Punk coming back and that being such a big news item, they would have got loads of old wrestling eyes on this who aren't necessarily watching AEW, but would have, been watching, grown up with WWE, CM Punk, live through the Attitude Era. Mm-hmm. Giving us that the sort of climax of this pay-per-view was very Attitude. I wonder if that's a deliberate ploy to try and keep those viewers that this is a bit like it used to be back then, but without all the horrific sexism.
But if there'd been no AEW, then SummerSlam, like Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar, would probably still possibly be talking about those returns. Yeah. The controversy with Becky's, but also just the fact that Brock's back. But I couldn't really give two shits about that right now. And it just feels like just tired old, especially with Brock. We've been there, done that. This is so fresh, so exciting. And they're huge signings. Like this is they were... To get Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan is pretty huge, I think. I'm not suggesting that Vince gave a shit about Adam Cole, but
I think
it's a big deal.
Bryan's a big deal because he's been in that company for a long time. He's held belts, and he's obviously someone that company trusted a lot. They always went back to him. He was in the main event for WrestleMania 6 months ago.
And what a great main event that was.
Yeah. Also match with your contender.
Yeah. All right, let's do any worst of the rest before I get into this. Any little side notes or little bits and bobs? I can't really think of anything particularly bad that we haven't covered. Star performer then.
I was going to say my worst of the rest, just from quickly scanning over the card, is probably general representation. Very white still.
I was going to say, is general representation like Sergeant Slaughter's son? Very white, yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, which isn't great.
No, that's interesting, actually. So, star performer, if you had to pick out one, it's quite tough. John?
Oh, this is hard. I feel like I have to say... I'm going to go Darby Allin. CM Punk. Has to be. Right.
Wow. Brett?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, no, it's the Lucha Brothers. What am I fucking kidding?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to go for Penta. Usually Rey Fenix is my far and above favourite, but I just thought, the war that Penta went through and the whole emotion that he brought to it just leveled it up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wrote down Penta as well. All four of the tag guys deserve it, but I'll go for Penta. Overall rank, this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot.
It's hard. It's hard. It's kind of changing. If you'd asked me at the end of the pay-per-view last night, it was going to be my first ever 10.
Oh, bloody hell.
I was so happy. It gave me joy. It was the first time in a long, long time, because I watched this in bits, like throughout the day. I watched like a couple of hours, then an hour, then I had the main event. I was excited to come back to it. We've all said how in the past, sometimes watching pay-per-views, it's like, shit, I've got to get that finished for the pod.
Yeah.
I was excited to come back.
Yeah.
And those moments, like we had like 3 or 4 goosebump moments, huge moments, and one of the best matches we've ever seen.
Yeah.
it kind of is a 10. But then you go back through the card and you realise some of those matches weren't that special. Representation, some other bits and bobs weren't perfect. What are we thinking? For the record, Sam gave it a 10 out of 10.
Did he?
Oh, really?
Wow.
I'll go first. I'll go second because Sam beat me, even though he's not here.
Go on.
A solid 8 for me.
Okay.
So, like, 2, for me, amazing matches. The rest, decent, and some just, amazing moments. So, there wasn't, like, really anything bad or, dross. I mean, like, except for Paul White, but that was over really quickly. So who can complain?
Yeah.
I think 8's fair.
Yeah.
8's a great score.
Yeah.
Bloody great score.
I think it's a great score and it's fair because I do think they've got more than they can, maybe not more announcements, moments like arrivals, but there's more they can do wrestling wise.
John?
So when Kenny won against Cage, I was thinking 7.5. Right.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I thought it was a solid pay-per-view, and like Young Bucks Super Bros was great, but that's about it. But then everything else happened. I'm talking to you guys about it, and I was so excited about this pay-per-view as well. Like most excited about pay-per-view I've been in for a long time. So excited, I bought it on Sunday afternoon because I had some time. Like I'm going to sit down and watch it Sunday afternoon. So I paid for the money, pressed play, and I said, "Oh, it doesn't start for another 9 hours."
Because you thought it was Saturday night?
Yeah, I thought it was on Saturday night.
I had thought that originally, but yeah.
I think I'm going to give it a 9. I think a 9.
I like that you jumped 1.5.
Okay. Well, I've got to be honest. Like I said, right at the end, I wrote down in my notes, fuck yeah, I love pro wrestling. This has made me love pro wrestling again. How down in the dumps were we when we had no crowds, we had shit booking WWE, having to live through all the Fiend matches, we had speaking out, we had the corona fucking virus just giving us all anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And then to be back in this position now where I can write down I love pro wrestling is just incredible. And it's down to AEW because they're the only people who are just doing this incredible work at the moment.
Yeah.
I wrote down 10, but I'm going to drop down. The highest score I've ever given was 9.5 for TakeOver New York a few years ago, where you three all gave it a 10. I'm going to give it a 9.75.
TakeOver New York,
my highest ever score.
Perfect. Like, you're not going to get a better show than that, really.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, like, from what you were saying, I've struggled a lot with watching wrestling recently, just for, just getting into it at all. And this wasn't a struggle whatsoever. No. It was like, like you say, it was like, oh, this is fun. And like the number of moments where I was just grinning like ear to ear during that tag team match. Yeah, amazing.
There you go. So that gives us an average score of 9.18.
Wow.
Which means that it comes just under TakeOver New York. Let's have a little look at where it ranks in total with all the other ones. TakeOver New York got 9.8. And then, this is the second. Because after that, we've got a couple of 9s. We've got a Wrestle Kingdom chucked in there. We've got a Survivor Series that scored very highly. Second best pay-per-view we've reviewed.
NXT one, wouldn't it? That Survivor Series, probably.
Yeah. So there you go. I think I've seen some people who stayed up late for it when I was checking on Twitter, and it's like Sam, Get Cape, Wear Cape, Fly, who did the live show with us, of course, loves AEW. He was like, that's the best. This is overtaking Royal Rumble 2000. Was it Royal Rumble 2000? Whatever it was, it's his favourite pay-per-view of all time. Yeah. Oh. It delivered. All right. So that's that. We did it. Let's wrap things up. Next podcast. It's a quiz, John.
Yeah, I was got sweats about this earlier.
2 weeks' time, we're retiring the Baron Corbin vest. The last ever summer quiz, we think, because we're going to drop down to 3 quizzes a year instead of 4. Emotional.
Yeah, I've got the vest here, actually.
Oh, he's showing us on Skype. There it is on its little plaque. Oh,
Da-da-da.
it's delightful. So whoever wins that gets to keep it, basically. We'll have to post a picture of that on social
it'll be
media
going to Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam's keeping that.
No, it won't, guys. Don't worry. I'll rig it.
Brett, if people want to get in touch with us,
They can send their emails to hardestpartofthering@gmail.com. We are at Hardest Part Pod on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Might be mugging off Facebook. And you can buy us a virtual coffee at ko-fi.com/HPOTR.
thank you very much, Brett. Thank you to everybody for listening. I hope you had a lovely dinner, Sam. Emailing us with your 10 out of 10. I can't believe he wasn't here because that's like, he absolutely adored it and he hasn't had a chance to talk about it. So we'll do 20 minutes at the start of the quiz on that. Thank you, John.
Those episodes are usually quite short anyway.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys. Lovely chatting to you as always.
And you. Goodbye, Brett. Have a lovely
Goodbye.
holiday.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Have a lovely holiday, Brett.
And goodbye, listeners. That was The Hardest Part of the Ring.
That is the hardest part of the